Hi, everybody. This is Steve Sabludowsky, publisher of BayouBuzz.com, and today we're going to be talking technology, business, and I'm going to put a little how to use this new technology in the world of, say, elections and politics with Cory Truffiletti. I hope I said it right.
You did. Yes, you did.
Good, good. And Cory's going to tell us about the product that he is involved with in terms of something I have done a 30-day trial, which I think is really amazing technology, Voicea. So, Cory, why don't you tell us about yourself first, and then we'll talk about the Voicea. Go ahead, please.
Sure. So my background is in online media, marketing, advertising, so on and so forth. I've been doing online as a marketing platform since '94. And most recently, I had joined this company to be the chief marketing officer for Voicea. And prior to that, I did a stint with Oracle and a company called BlueKai, which we sold to Oracle. So I was in the data space. Prior to all of that, I ran agencies. I was a digital agency person. So it's been a really nice trajectory going in from agencies to consulting, consulting to marketing, and then marketing with data, now marketing with AI.
Okay, great. Thank you. So what exactly is marketing with AI?
So for me, you have to look at it from two perspectives. On one side of things, I'm looking at tools that allow me to be more efficient as a marketer. And on the other side of things, we have a product that is AI driven that I'm helping the masses understand how to use and help them understand how it can be a benefit to them in their daily
lives. Why AI? I mean, what's the deal about AI, if I might ask?
It's a hot topic, obviously. A lot of people are talking about it. So AI is really a tool that can help you by augmenting the average day of the knowledge worker or just a general worker in general. And it's really something that can be used to automate certain aspects of your day. I tell people that there's not enough time in the day to get all the things that you need to get done. AI can automate some of those more mundane elements, some of the things that take your brain about 2 or 3 seconds to accomplish that you could take off of your plate. If you can have AI take those and manage those for you, it frees up time to be able to do the other more important things. And one way of an analogy for this is if you think about in the Marvel movies, you've got Iron Man. Iron Man has his suit of armor he layers over himself, and he's got an AI built into that. And it augments his ability to work. It makes him faster and stronger and better and more access to information. And that's really what AI should do for people too. It should allow you to have more access to information quickly and be able to use that and put that into action a lot more efficiently.
Yeah. So at the bottom of the screen, we have a little image. And from what I can see, we have AI in work right now. So, so who's this image?
So that's Eva. Eva is our enterprise voice assistant. It's an acronym. And what it does is it joins any kind of conference call. You can also have it on direct phone calls, and you can have it in person with an app that we have. And what Eva does is it joins and announces itself. Then it listens. It transcribes the entire conversation in real time. And it helps capture the most important moments that have been designated by me. And the way that happens is 3 different methods. One is that I can use voice commands, which is very similar to having an Alexa in a meeting. So I can say, okay, Eva, the action here is for me to follow up with Steven and do something that we haven't done before. Thanks, Eva. So that marks that moment as an action item in our highlight reel. I can also do things like say, okay, Eva, remind me to call Steven again later today. Thanks, Eva.
Scheduled.
That's going to go into my calendar. It's going to schedule a reminder for me, and it's going to send me an email to remind me about it later on as well. So there's a lot of those types of actions that I can do using a voice command. Now, the second thing is that I set up what I call trigger words in advance, which are passive words. And these are just terms that I typically will use in a meeting, and Eva will highlight those and capture it as a moment. So for example, one of my trigger words is we should. So I'm in a meeting with my team, and I'll say we should create the presentation to send through on next Friday. That's going to get marked as a moment in my highlight reel and captured and extracted as a point of information. And then the last thing is that there's a UI that I can access on the web, which allows me to push a button. So if I'm talking or you're talking and what you're saying is the most important thing ever been said before, I just push that button. You can see that Eva is now taking an action and recording that moment in real time. And then when it's done, I push the button, and that is now part of my highlight reel. And I end up with this full recording of the audio, a full recording of the video. I end up with a full, very highly accurate transcript of the conversation. And I end up with this highlight reel that has the most important moments captured and highlighted.
Yes, so at the very bottom, you can see, or the audience can see, that basically everything I'm saying right now is accurately, I must say, accurately being recorded. It may be, I would say, and I've been doing voice recognition, I got to tell you, since 1990, 1991, when it was like 20 words a minute and 90% error. And, this is accurate. This is accurate. And so basically what's happening is, it is capturing our conversation, and it is placing it in a way so that later on I can go back, if I started this conversation, this conversation between the two of us, and it could be a conversation among 10, 20, 30 people. Yeah. And so I can go back and look to see exactly what the key words are, the trigger words are, and be able to use that in some way. So you're going to maybe give us a little tour.
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen with you.
Sure.
Do that right now. Let's see here. All right. Now you should be seeing my Google Chrome. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So you're seeing right now, I believe, the Voicea platform, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So on the left-hand side here, you have what we call the meeting captions. This is the real-time transcript of what's going on. When I mentioned a minute ago, there was a button I could click to tap. That's this button right here. Now that is something that's getting captured and put into my highlight reel. And then down here, I can also add notes. And those will get dropped into the regular conversation that we have as well. So this is what it looks like during a meeting, where you have the meeting highlights being captured here on the right-hand side. And you can see, this one was captured as a note. This one was an action item created from a voice command. So it also denotes how these meeting highlights were being captured in the conversation.
Okay, so right now, let me just make sure that I fully understand. It says meeting caption to the column to the my left, meeting captions.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what you're referring to in meeting highlights. Why don't you tell us the difference between the two?
Yep, so the captions is the real-time transcript of the conversation that's going on right now. On the right-hand side are the notes that are getting captured. So once again, if I say, okay, Eva, the purpose of this conversation is to really show off a demo for the folks who are watching Bayou Buzz. Thanks, Eva. You see how that got captured on the left-hand side? Now it's going to pop over here on the right side as a highlight. So there it is. The AI captured that just from the conversation. And then it also highlighted that it was because the word action item was used in a conversation. So that's where the meeting highlights go during a meeting. But let me show you what it looks like after a meeting. I think you'll find some excitement.
Sure.
So after a meeting, you go to this past meetings tab, and I have one open. So this is an example of the past meetings page. So when you click on any of those past meetings that showed up, you're going to come into this. And this is the first thing that you see. So here is the word cloud. The word cloud is an overview visually of what the conversation was about. And if you click on any of these terms, it brings you to that moment in the conversation.
Because August over July is roughly flat. Do you think
that's where we're talking about audience? Or if I click here.
That being said, our web.
So this gives you a quick overview and ability to jump to any part of the conversation. You can see here the running transcript that's associated with that. So that's the first view of a past meetings page. You also have here, this is the full audio. And if I click here, I have the full video of that conversation as well. Okay.
Plus you can download the transcript if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
To use the transcript. What I did, quite frankly, is I did a show and took the transcript and basically just put the transcript up on as content.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's that fast. It's actually fast that I found. The platform, it's a Google platform?
No, this is all entirely built by our team.
Okay.
So let me explain what's going on there. So in the meeting, in real time, there's a single transcription engine, an ASR, that we built that takes the conversation, transcribes it. After a meeting, we have what we call an ensemble processing, which is we also have 4 or 5 other ASRs that can be used to review and transcribe the conversation. So what happens is that the meeting goes through 5 automated speech recognition platforms. And then the ensemble picks and chooses the best and most accurate elements of each one and stitches them together. And so the reason that we have so many is that some are trained based on audio quality, some are trained on accents, some are trained on different types of vocabulary. So it stitches together and you end up with something that's about 90-95% accurate for real world meeting content. That's based on the different types of audio and everything else. So what you get afterwards, about a half an hour after the meeting, is a fully reviewed and processed version of the transcript. And as you pointed out, you can download the audio, you can download different versions of the transcript. And for the people who want a 100% accurate version, you click this button right here and you can go get a human transcript. There's an additional cost because we run that through a partner. With the versions that we have, it's all completely machine driven. But if you want a 100% accurate one, a human will do it as well.
So if you wanted to go back, let's say there's 10 people in this conversation. So will it automatically pick up who's saying what? I see here in terms of pass, it has a different email addresses, I believe. So will it do that automatically, or do you go back and say, okay, Joe said this, Tom said that, go ahead?
Yeah, so that's called speaker tagging. So the very first time you're using our platform, what's going to happen is that you'll come into a meeting and it'll ask you to do a bit of speaker tagging on your end. So what you do is you would scroll through here and you'd click on this name here and you'd attach it to the person who it was. And the first time that you tag somebody in our engine, they're now going to be voice printed. And every time we see them in the future, we'll be able to recognize them and associate their name with that email address or whatever name you've given to them. So the first time that you do it, it then carries through in perpetuity for the rest of the users of the platform. But it does require that very first time that you have to tag them.
So that's the artificial intelligence. It learns from the first time. That's incredible.
Yeah,
it really is incredible. So let's talk, if you don't mind. I used it. I thought it was just absolutely really super. I'm looking at the different subscriptions now at this point in time, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how can I apply this technology. There are different tools that I can use with it, like Zoom being one of the interfaces as I'm right now. And so I'm going through that process in terms of how can I apply it? What type of environments? One thing I did in my example was I was sitting at a meeting with somebody. I took out my app with their permission, and we just recorded the conversation. Then afterwards, I went ahead and I shared it with them. Secondly, in a telephone conversation, I told them that we were going to record this conversation, and I'll give them a copy of the transcript. Got permission, of course. And then as soon as the meeting was over, I was very surprised how quickly it took. Was able to go and share that information, the conversation transcript, or with the video of the conversation, and then be able to do whatever we want with that. So those are just a telephone conversation in a very real time, one-to-one, say sales conversation, let's just say, or a meeting that I might have with somebody. What are some of the other applications? And if you don't mind, I'm going to try to transfer that into like a more of a political environment.
Okay, so the best use cases for us typically have been around internal and external meetings in companies. So if you're doing internal product management, project management types of meetings, salespeople use it a lot on sales meetings, marketing teams, also executive level conversations. Anybody who wants to be able to utilize this information and the discussion and turn it into content for an extended team, those are the cases. And so you started to talk about something, I call it our talk matrix and our action matrix. So from a talk perspective, anywhere where you're having a conversation. So if you're doing Zoom, you're doing Skype, you're doing Google Meets, you're doing Cisco with WebEx, you're doing free conference calls and dial pad, whatever platform you work in, as well as direct phone calls and in person, because you can use our mobile app. That enables you to take anything from talk and turn it into content. Now, from an action perspective, and I'm going to show you this second page of the UI as well, because I think it's partially important for that. But you can see here that when a note is taken, and you can edit your notes and you can drag them here, so you end up with a highlight reel that is specific to a team. Then we have these things here. These are all the integrations. So the integrations allow you to push this as content to any platform where your team works. And that's what we call the action matrix. So for example, you and I jump off a call. If there's follow-ups off of this call, I'll just click this and send you an email with the follow-ups and a direct link to the content inside of Voicea. If my team operates on Slack, I can just simply push the button for Slack and it'll go create an update in a channel on Slack. Maybe I want Salesforce to be updated. I can go update Salesforce, Trello, Asana, Jira. There's about 40 different integrated platforms that we have, because for us, we think it's more important for you to be able to get the meeting content to where your team does the work. And so for us, it's not about you coming into our platform. It's about making sure that that conversation can be converted into content and put into action as quickly as possible. And that's the whole goal of the company, is to make it so that anybody in a meeting can be focused on the conversation, not have to ask, what was that again? Or can you repeat that? Because you have this virtual record of the conversation. But for the people that were necessary for the follow-up and all the things that have to happen after a meeting, you can decrease the amount of time required for all that follow-up, because it's now a tangible piece of content. It's not this ephemeral, temporal moment in time that you really wish to yourself, oh, I wish Nikki was here and I wish John was here, so they could have heard that section, so they could have followed up on it properly.
Wow. I mean, seriously, it's a big wow, because the thing is that in terms of applications that I can think of that I haven't used thus far would be like, having a town hall meeting, for example. And let's say, and again, I'm going to transfer this now to the political space, because, a lot of our content is related to that. And so a town hall meeting, why don't you tell us how it could be used in a town hall meeting?
So I will caveat with, we don't do a lot right now with government by any means, but I think for a town hall conversation, what would be great is to be able to have a record of that conversation. So you can imagine a situation where you've got our app on the podium, and I have done this, where the app is on the podium and it's recording my conversation. And then if you assume that anybody else in the room is going to be handed a microphone to be able to ask questions and to engage, and then you can take the audio directly off a soundboard, or you can take the audio that's recorded off a soundboard and upload it into our platform, which you can do. Then you end up with virtual record of the conversation. You end up with content that can be accessed, and it can be shared maybe with the people in that district who want to have access to that information for later. I think that's something that potentially could be done, sure.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, a lot of town meetings now are digital. I know that I've done, I can't tell you how many hundreds now of different, say, conversations, whether it with 2, 3, 4 people, and using that as content or whatever. That's a great place, a great way to use this. So you can have you can use Zoom, for an example, and have a digital town hall meeting.
Yep.
Be able to use that content. Why don't you tell us more about that possibility?
Well, I think it's the same as what I was talking about, even in an enterprise environment, is that a meeting or a town hall, it's one of those things where if you weren't there, did it make a sound, right? If a tree falls in the forest, did it make a sound if there was nobody there to hear it, kind of thing. If you wanted to attend that town hall, but you couldn't, you still want to be able to know what was talked about. You still want to understand the context, because it's not always purely about the decision or the action that comes out of a conversation. Sometimes you have to understand the context. And I think what this does is it preserves that context in any kind of meeting or conversational environment, and enables you to understand exactly what was talked about and how. So rather than just walking out and maybe taking something out of context, not fully understanding what someone meant by a statement that they made, you now are able to do so. And it's there. And on one side of things, I imagine you could probably use it to hold people accountable. But on the other side of things, I'm hoping that it would allow people to have all the information, because I think too often, if your content primarily is around politics, et cetera, I think too often we rush to judgment because we don't understand the context of what the conversation was.
Sure. And in terms of promotions, what I'm thinking is this, that let's say I have a town hall meeting, and the town hall meeting lasts about, say, half hour. And as this meeting is beginning to do, basically, if part of the town hall meeting dealt with, let's just say, healthcare, I could, if I use that a target word, I could get all the content related to healthcare and be able to transfer that information immediately to those people that I've already recognized have an interest in healthcare. Likewise, if the conversation was dealt with healthcare and or say some other subject, let's say Homeland Security, same thing. I can go and do a deep search, find the information related to Homeland Security, and within seconds be able to funnel that information to those people who just have an interest in Homeland Security. That is an extraordinary, quick way of getting information, not just the text and transcript, but now questions that are, like you said, contextual, questions that are asked, and the whole conversation related to that particular category of information.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of applications of this kind of technology across the board. So sure.
Absolutely. Is there anything that, say, we haven't talked about that you think that the business audience, the political audience, just the people involved in trying to understand technology and media, is there anything that we haven't touched upon?
I don't know if there's anything we haven't specifically touched on. I just think it's interesting because what you're doing is you're raising a new use case, a new opportunity for how our product can be used. And this is one of the things that we are constantly talking about on a daily basis, because while our product itself is probably pretty complex, there's a lot of elements to it. For us, it's about helping people understand just that you can try it out, that you can use it, and you can get an overview of a conversation. But there's so many different myriad of ways that it can be used that it just comes down to how do we simplify the understanding of it. And it's a really, at its core, it's simple. It creates content from a conversation that is now searchable, recordable, accessible, etc. And I think we're trying to continue to teach people how to do that.
Sure. So it's basically agnostic in its technology approach, and it's just a question in any type of environment, any type of industry, any type of institution can use it.
Yeah, we have customers that are using us in field construction, where they go out there and they record their notes for themselves, and then they can send it to their team. We have people in a corporate enterprise environment. We've got people in coaching, consultants. I know there's real estate agents that use it. So it's pretty much all over the place.
Well, yeah. Again, I had a full month of opportunity to take a look, and I really am glad we had this conversation, because I can see a quantum amount of new opportunities that I hadn't even thought about.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you come up with more of those ideas, Stephen, please feel free to send them.
Pass it on.
I
Absolutely.
love the inspiration.
Absolutely.